Greetings, time traveler. I am Dr. W. D. Gaster. Why do I think you're a time traveler? Well, since you are here, then you must have traveled months into the future. I jest. In reality, I've been caught up with festive preparations. So busy, in fact, I went silent from Halloween to Giftmas to the New Year. Good times. Speaking of Halloween, at first I wanted nothing to do with that distasteful human celebration. I've always been more of a gift-mass person myself. Now that season is an absolute delight. Still, the townsfolk were looking forward to that bizarre cosplay event so much, it would be too impolite for me to continue being a sour grape. Any questions related to my thoughts on the festivities will be in the 5th episode of the Q&A. Looking forward to it. Let us begin the reading now, shall we? Chapter 6, Brothers. In light of Frisk's Golden Quiche issue, the heroic skeleton decided to protect the kid in the way he knew best. On the stroke of midnight, the great Papyrus gathered his tools and headed straight out to the one main road into Ebot Town. His objective, to build the biggest electric maze in history. It didn't matter if it took him days, weeks, or even months. Once Papyrus set his mind to something, he will do it. It'll be electrifying and invisible. Except there was one minor problem. Or rather, two minor problems. First, Papyrus was not good with puzzles. Second, unauthorized puzzles on the surface had a tendency to cause dire complications. Midway through construction of the second layer of the maze, multiple human supply trucks interfered. Papyrus tried to stop them from driving on site, but a certain white fluffy dog tripped him into the snow. Thus, the trucks drove straight into an active, half-built electric maze, triggering invisible pressure plate after invisible pressure plate. And Papyrus being Papyrus, he held the connected electric orb in his own pocket. The collective frizzling knocked him out cold. He then fell into the realm of strange, disturbing dreams. He dreamt of Frisk, or rather a red-eyed version who proclaimed themselves the enemy of humanity and monster-kind alike. A sadistic grin sketched on their face. The great Papyrus granted mercy, sparing them. And yet, instead of accepting his kindness, they took advantage of it, leaping towards him and lopping off his head. Well, that's not what I expected. His body turned to dust. But still, I believe in you. His heart? No. His very soul knew that person was not his dear human friend. It was someone else. Something else. The dream shifted. Now Papyrus found himself running through a dark and creepy forest, the stars shining far above the canopy in the overworld sky. Why? When? His magical heart pounded against his chest. Dreams don't make sense, do they? Papyrus saw Sans right ahead. He hunched more than usual, panting from exhaustion. Frisk was there too. They were locked in a bone cage. Was it imprisonment? Or was it protection? A shadowy figure emerged from the bushes. A man. A woman. Papyrus couldn't see, yet he sensed intense danger from the silhouette alone. They drew out a weapon. A toy gun from the looks of it. Toy or not, Sans had only 1 HP. Anything could kill him. Anything. Papyrus tried to call for his brother, but no voice came from his larynx. Then he heard a terrible bang. It reminded Papyrus of a firecracker. Sans managed to dodge the bullet. Barely. When he tried to summon one of his special cannons to retaliate, he slipped on his footing and spun out of control. The shining beam of light blasted through the shadow, burned the trees, circling back to Frisk's cage. Papyrus did what Papyrus does best, acting on his protective instinct. He leapt into the fray and put on his best makeshift shield of bones, light blue, impenetrable by anything that moves. Alas, even that was not enough to withstand the might of Sans. Everything then ended in white. Like the Snowdin's snow, Papyrus snapped wide awake. He found himself safe and sound, tucked under the warm blankets of his car-shaped bed. Wowie! What a shocker! He sat up and discovered himself feeling sore from skull to metatarsus. Looking down, he discovered that he was covered in linen bandages. They wrapped around his arms, neck, ribs, spine, even his hip bones. How scandalous! Just the thought of someone else other than Sans seeing him naked made Papyrus fluster. The brand new digital clock on the wall said 1 a.m. The brand new digital clock on the wall said 1 a.m. 1 a.m. Wait, did time roll backwards while I was out cold? Papyrus expected Sans to drop into his room with a pun right about now. But things were silent. A bit too silent. The once cheerful skeleton grew worried. It didn't help that the nightmare he just had involved his brother. Once he got out of bed, the soreness didn't bother him much. Those bruises were nothing compared to his training with Undine. Maybe. Nonetheless, he just braved through the pain like everything else. After putting on his battle clothes, he went to his first stop, Sans' room. Sans! Brother? Papyrus pressed the side of his skull against the door. He tried listening for life signs, the lazy one snoring, the shuffling of trash, or the faint resonance of his magical presence. None. He hurried down the stairs to check the kitchen. When he found no trace of Sans there either, Papyrus bolted right out of the house. Where to? Where else other than the rebuilt Grilby's? Papyrus barged through the entrance. The scent of grease had already begun sticking to his scarf. He hated that lingering, obtuse staleness wrapping around his neck, but now he couldn't care. Sans! The patrons turned their heads towards him and gasped in worry. Papyrus! Doggeressa exclaimed. You should be in bed. The others agreed. Each chipped in their own statement, a single text box long, describing what happened in the 20 hours Papyrus had lost. You got zapped pretty bad there. I've never seen Sans so sick with worry my entire life. Frisk too, poor kid. Undine splashed an entire bottle of skin ointment on you. They almost turned you into a mummy. Papyrus blinked. He didn't think the electric trap was strong enough to inflict bodily harm. Yet the bandages and that nagging soreness indicated otherwise. Again, not important. I, the great Papyrus, is fine and dandy, thank you very much. But where is Sans? Where is my lazy brother? Doggermi replied. He was here before midnight, ordered a burger, chugged down a bottle of ketchup, then hurried right back out. How many minutes again, dearest? 5 total, I think, Doggeressa answered. He's like a mini tornado. Okay, but still, where did he go? No one could answer. Mutterings of dunno and not sure floated in the air until Grilby himself spoke up. Rock fall, every patron hushed. The flaming bartender continued. Humans say a part of the south side of Mount Ebott collapsed years ago. He should be there. Thanks! Papyrus bolted right back out into the snow-blanketed town, didn't even close the door behind him. He knew the path to Mount Ebott. All he needed to do was to make a straight beeline to the towering mountain. Except, he doesn't know where Zouth was. There was no big gas ball in the sky to guide him either, not at this hour, not in this season. He figured that he could just run around the edges of the mountain. Sooner or later, he will go full circle and thus bump into Sans. Papyrus took it as training on the spot. To his fortune, he didn't need to do that. The shrill keen of his brother's magical cannons echoed from the correct side of the mountain. With a little bit of magic, Papyrus leapt over the canopy. He didn't need to wave his feet around to propel himself forward, yet he did. Otherwise, the air running wouldn't feel authentic. When he arrived, he witnessed a sight that he never thought possible. Sans was practicing his magic on the boulders of the collapse site. Actual, genuine effort. Alone. For as long as Papyrus can remember, a direct duel was the only time he'd ever got his lazy-bones brother to do any sort of magic practice. Even then it was on request, often accompanied by many puns, much complaining, and an appeasement of ketchup. Their dueling routine stopped when Undine took him under her wing. Papyrus gently landed on a soft patch of snow. His brother was too absorbed in his solo routine to notice. Sans levitated several similar-sized boulders from the pile. Enchanted! They danced to his twirling finger. His left eye burned bright in magic fire. Round and round and round they went. "Faster," Sans muttered. "Faster." The rate of spinning increased, kicking up the wind and snow. Sans spun them around until they had reached critical self-sustaining velocity. He then summoned another ring of boulders, and another. One more until 5 layers of dangerous, circulating rocks surrounded his stout being. 1, 2. Sans started to count his seconds. On the 10th, the tornado began to wobble. He lifted up his arms in attempt to stabilize them. Alas, the setup had worn him down too much to maintain. 2 capric skulls materialized above the tornado. Their eyes, too, burned like their masters. Papyrus recognized them as his brothers, Gaster blasters. In one breath of condensed beams, the blasters ripped through the tornado, ending this round of training. Any that survived the impact eventually crumbled into sand. No target was safe from the poison of brittleness. The flames extinguished in his eye. Sans sighed as he wiped the sweat off his skull. Papyrus went slack-jawed at the display. He knew his brother had the capabilities, but he had never witnessed them with his own 2 sockets. "Sans, that was just amazing!" Sans jolted out of shock. He turned around, requiring a second to let reality sink in. Then the fussing began. "Papyrus, what are you doing out here? You should be in bed." "I should be asking you that question." No, perhaps you lost half of your HP. You were half dead, literally. It's not a joke." "Really? That's weird. I set the voltage to just sting, like bees, whatever bees are." "Bro, a swarm of bees can kill. Also, all it takes is just one bee sting to trigger a fatal allergic reaction in some humans." "Oh my god, is that true?" "Yes." Papyrus' eyes bugged out of his sockets. "That is absolutely terrifying. I never knew humans were so fragile." He soon returned to normal. His brows wriggled as he tried to recall a fact he learned from the library. "I thought they're tougher than monsters." "That's only true for their souls, bro. When it comes to the body, it ain't so straightforward. Did you know the police made a huge fuss about your electric maze? Said it could cause cardiac arrest." "Cardiac arrest? You mean the police hold you in car jail?" Oh, poor Papyrus, too sweet for this cruel world. Sans shook his head. "They're talking about an organ called a heart. Keeps a human's blood pumping. If that stops, they're deader than dead. Electricity can do that. Even small amounts. Not everyone's a toughie like Frisk. This blood, that's the red stuff that leaks out of a human when they get hurt, right? Yup, keeps them alive, so please don't make any more electric mazes, okay?" "Sorry, Sans." Papyrus felt bad for causing so much trouble. The elder skeleton brother shuffled back to his training spot. He lay down and looked up into the sky. A cloudy night, few stars in the sky. Plus, at this clearing, there won't be any surprise snow-laden branches falling on their heads either. "Lie down with me a bit, bro." Sans patted on the ground. It's been a while since we had a one-on-one chat. Okay. Papyrus plunked himself on the ground next to his brother. The clouds were soft and fluffy. He wondered if they felt like cotton candy. The stars could be the sprinkles. Bro, said Sans. Yes, Papyrus answered. We can't depend on the old ways anymore. Why? 'Cause we need to integrate into human society. It means trying to blend in. All the puzzles and mazes were designed to separate us from them. Sure, we can build a bunch of puzzle houses to promote fun, but that's about it. If we're to survive, we've got to get used to human politics. It's not as simple as going to Undyne for everything. Here it's a combination of wit, action, and words. Lots of words. Like crosswords. Kinda, but a whole lot more complicated. Whoa! Prepare for a whole lot of talking. Oh, you mean like Frisk? They suss their way out of everything. Sans chuckled, sighed, grinned one more time before sighing again. He's worried. Papyrus could tell from his heavy expression and a total lack of puns. Yeah, bro. Yeah, like that. Frisk's a master, don't you think? Even then they need to polish their skills at least 10 times for their ambassador job. High-level bosses everywhere, you know. But if that fails, you need to be able to fight back without killing. That's why I'm training. For once, got to get my act together. I am very sure you can do that, said Papyrus. The light in Sans' eyes faded for a moment. No, I don't trust myself. Why not? You are not the great Papyrus, but you are Sans, the great Papyrus brother. Therefore, I believe in you. Perhaps you believe in everyone. Yes, I believe that one day you will be less messy, like the old times. All Sans had for an answer was a deep, pained stare into the night sky. The winds blew the wispy clouds away, revealing the bright half-moon. It's silver. Bringing up the past doesn't seem to be a good idea. Time for a diversion. What training was that anyway? I've never seen it before. Sans conjured a small snow tornado by his side as an example. Magic control. The better you are, the longer you can spin. Adding weight to the tornado raises the difficulty. If you can do both, well, it's first prize material. Though it's tedious. That's why I never go beyond the trashnado in the room. 'Cause what's the point if I'm not going to use it? With a wave of a hand, the shorter brother stopped the winds. The snow showered back down to the ground. Papyrus, said Sans, do you know why I think you're super cool? Because I'm the great Papyrus, his brother replied. There's no other reason. Nyeh-heh-heh. Sans burst into laughter. That's one way to put it, bro. You're the only person I'll ever duel with. Me, the guy with 1 HP, feeling totally safe in your hands. You may not be the strongest monster, but you're surely the most skilled. You've never, ever caused an accident. Whenever I'm in danger of getting hit, you'll stop the fight right on the dot. That's true talent, bro. Never forget that. I want to be more like you. I need to be more like you. Just one accidental death on the surface is enough to start a wildfire. You got that? Well, if you want to be more like me, you must follow my special papyrus-tailored, custom-made, and professionally seasoned training regiment. Trust Papyrus to promote himself in every opportunity. His brother groaned and smacked his own forehead. Still, he was relieved. Heh, Sans replied. I can't believe I'm buying into this, but sure, I'll give it a shot. Though it ain't fair that only you get to whip my lazy butt. How about a trade? The other skeleton raised a brow. You teach me your skills, and I'll teach you how to summon the Gaster blasters. You are not pulling my leg, are you? No pranks this time, Papyrus. I'm offering the S game. Honestly, you could have learned it a long time ago. Wowee! This is going to be exciting! Papyrus paused, rethinking about his brother's statement. Why didn't you teach me sooner? I didn't think you'd need it. I mean, that kind of firepower is overkill for someone in the Royal Guard. No power is overkill for the Royal Guard! He started to whine, like a disappointed little kid, thrashing about in the snow. Sons, if I had your special cannons, I'd pass ages ago. Sons laughed along. What's past is the past, okay? In all seriousness, it's not as simple as just watching me do it. You first need to unlock your magic eye. Papyrus gasped. The great Papyrus, have a magic eye? Of course. We're brothers after all. The magic eye is in your right socket. Orange, I saw it flash once when you were just baby bones. It's been sleeping since. The tall younger brother squealed in excitement. But first, you need to recover, said Sans. The happy squeal turned into a sad whine in an instant. Sans patted his brother in an attempt to console him. Hey, there's no way I'm activating that on anything less than full HP. It's going to hurt like hell. Trust me on that. I'll do my best to keep the pain minimal, okay? That sounded worrying. Perhaps it was a good idea to decline. But Papyrus, being Papyrus, he accepted the challenge head on. It still caused concern. Less about himself and more about his brother. Sans, he asked, is that why you only had 1 HP? No, bro, I'm born this way. It can't go negative, you know. I had nothing to lose, so I activated it on my first opportunity. Why didn't I remember that? Sans glanced away. You were too young, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. Papyrus didn't notice a thing. The two brothers continued lying on the snow to watch the sky. Without skin or warm blood, the cold never bothered them. And that is all for today. Quite a hefty chapter to return to, I do admit. These old bones needed the warm-up to get back into the groove again. I certainly hope that you will all tune in for future episodes. Things are about to get very, very interesting. Have a good day or night, wherever you may be.